Welcome, Dr. Rita.
Thank you, Dr. Toya. Thank you for having me. So my name is Ritha Belizaire. I am a surgeon, colorectal surgeon in Houston, Texas. I am the proud single mother of two young girls, ages 5 and 3, and a business owner. So that is who I am.
So, I have so many questions for you. Of course, I know you very well, and I want my audience to know you well as well because I like being able to share different perspectives because the whole point of stethoscopes and strollers is to help people feel like they are not alone and so that they can see themselves in other people's stories. And I know
Yeah.
there are a lot of other single moms by choice, other single moms not by choice, a lot of other people that can relate to you and all of the other things that you have been through, who you are. So I am so excited. So I just want
Yeah.
to go all the way back for a
Okay.
second. And what was your idea of motherhood before you had kids?
Oh man. Well, so I mean, if we're going all the way back,
Yeah.
I am sort of like the Gen X, elder millennial, 1980s when I was born. I was raised in a household with mother and father, but my mother was a stay-at-home mom, and so my idea of motherhood obviously was what I saw when I was growing up. So she stayed at home with my brother and sister and I, middle child. She did everything for us. So we were in piano, we were in sports. She was on the PTA for all of our schools. She was the team mom for all of our teams. She did all the things always. And she was very involved, did our homework, knew where all the things were at all the time. And she kept our house together. And she was very good at it. So my idea of motherhood was similar to that, where the woman just is sort of like keeps the house together. You're in charge of knowing all the things when everybody's supposed to be where they're supposed to be all the time. Cook, clean, organize everything. So that was my idea of what a mother did, because that is what my mom did. That said, she also raised me to be the most educated, make sure that I have a career that I was going to be able to support myself. So it was sort of interesting because she didn't raise us to be necessarily like the stay-at-home mom supporting a husband and kids or a spouse and kids. So that view obviously changed a little bit as I went through residency and I saw the way other female attendings were or other residents who had had kids during residency or, when I was in medical school. So that changed a lot because I saw a lot of, the working mom side. And I honestly, I don't know. I still don't know how medical students and residents do it. I don't know. You got no money, no like half of them are, yeah, away from their families. I don't know. So, but I saw that aspect a little bit more. And kind of as I came into age where I knew I was about to become a mom, motherhood to me looked like, okay, I'm going to be a full-time surgeon, but I also need to figure out how to be a full-time mom. And by then, most of my friends had had kids because I had kids a little bit older. And so I knew that looked like full-time childcare, maybe one, two, or three versions of that in one setting. But also, it looked like raising these really strong kids who, could be whatever they wanted also. So, I mean, it was kind of a lot of everything, but it was certainly being sort of the head of the household and having everything organized and together for my kids.
And do you think, even though she raised you to be the wonderful badass surgeon that you are right now, that you still take some of her stay at home vibes and try to fit it into your life currently? Or how does that affect you?
Oh, yeah. That affects me a lot. And it affects me a lot because there's a lot of things that she was there for that I feel a lot of guilt that I'm not there for, but I can't
Yeah.
be there for them, especially as a single parent. Like I'm doing what my mom and my dad did for me or trying to. And so, yeah, so I'm not going to be, my older one starts kindergarten. I'm not going to be active on the PTA. Like I'm just not going. I can't be. I can't be.
Right.
It's like so low on the list of it. Like I want to be there for her. I want to be there for the important things, but like
Yeah.
I'm probably not going to be taking care of the chickens at the school. I'm not going to do that. But I think it's wonderful that they do have parents that are doing that. And it has taken a long time and a lot of therapy and a lot of coaching to realize that my life looks very, very, very different than my mom's life was when we were younger. And also just the times in general are
Yeah.
very different, very different.
Yeah. So at what point did you realize, okay, I need to get help dealing with these ideas that I have in my head? Like, when did it start really affecting you? Or when did you realize it was affecting you?
Right, right, right. Yeah. It affected me from the moment October 16th, 2018, when my first daughter was born. No, I realized it was affecting me when honestly I realized that I was yelling at my older daughter a lot. Like when I started feeling really awful about who I was as a mother and how I was treating my child, but I didn't have the bandwidth or my tank was so empty. And that happened probably in the last couple of years when I was not as happy at work. I felt like I always wanted to be doing more, but I didn't have time to do enough. And certainly when I opened my practice, that's probably when it all came to a massive head where I was like, I am not a good mom. I wasn't having bad mom spells. I was feeling like I was just not a good mom. And I was like, I need help with this. And it wasn't until talking it out where I had to realize like the way I was raised is not the way I'm going to raise my kids. And because I can't, and two, because times are just different now. And this is just not how kids are raised this day and age, especially as a working single mom.
Tell me what made you seek therapy? Because I feel like it would be very easy to have those feelings of, I am a bad mom, I don't like how I'm treating my child, and just spiral and continue to spiral or be avoided. Like, there are a lot of
Yeah.
different things that you could do, but you decided to get help. What helped you make that
Yeah.
decision?
Well, I'll be honest, right before the pandemic started, I was like, I'm going to take care of my physical health. I was starting to work out more, starting to take tennis lessons. And I was like, and I'm also going to do a therapist. I'm going to do mental health maintenance the same way I do physical health maintenance. I was like, so I found it there. I wasn't feeling like I necessarily needed anybody, but I
Yeah.
wanted to ask somebody. And that was actually worked out very well because then the pandemic hit and there were no psychologists around. So that's when I sought therapy for the first time. And there was a lot in there about parenting. But when I felt like I was sort of in crisis mode a little bit with motherhood was in when I sought it in January of 2023. And that was honestly right as I was about to leave my employment and I was in the process of starting my practice. Things were getting very, very stressful. And I think I just was taking it out on my kids. And I think that felt rotten. I felt rotten inside. I I I knew that I was, when you have like a bad mom moment, you're like, "Mm," but this was like I was going to bed feeling just physically not well.
Yeah.
And so that like I should probably talk about this and figure out how I can do that.
And that's so interesting that it was when you were about to leave your employed position. So, was there a component of burnout that was contributing to how you were feeling?
I think burnout, yes, but from the burnout perspective, I was actually not, I don't think that was necessarily contributing to it because I was feeling very excited about having my own
Mm,
practice. From the burnout perspective, what I was worried about and what still is always at the top of my stress list is just the financial aspect of raising two kids when you're an entrepreneur and you're starting to practice from the ground, from zero patients, or
yeah.
zero clients or whatever. And you're the only source of income. And you're like, do I have enough savings? Am I gonna, like, are we gonna be homeless? I literally, those were the things like spiraling through my head. And so I think it was the stress of taking that leap, which I think is the stress of anybody taking that leap. But that, that put my stress level above a threshold where I felt like my parenting was suffering and my stress was just too high and it was being taken out on my kids.
Well, I'm so glad that you went and sought help. And what do you think was your biggest takeaway or the biggest benefit you had from therapy?
Yeah. So in addition to therapy, I actually started coaching around that same time. So I started doing coaching with Amy Vertrees group coaching in December of 2022. And then I found my therapist in January of 2023. But it was just a lot of that kind of mindset work from coaching was number one. And then number two, her helping me work through that it wasn't that I was a bad parent, that I was like lacking resources or a way to like fill myself up that I could give that energy to parenting. And so it took a lot of that conversation of like, you actually, and it feels so dumb to say it, but it's just so true. You need to take care of yourself before you can take care of anybody else. And I feel that is so true now that I have done that. I could say it over and over and over, but it was kind of like, faking the funk a little bit until like fake it till you make it. But then as soon as I did the work with a therapist, with coaching, with friends that were going through the same thing too, medication also helped quite a bit with the perseverating and intrusive thoughts. That actually was a very large step for me to come to a point where I need help. I wasn't sleeping. I would have these intrusive thoughts about parenting and being homeless. I didn't have a paycheck coming in, and so I needed help with that. And so I got help. Medication can get you so far. But
Right.
it's the coaching and the therapy that continues to help. And you're still going to have these moments, but it's the maintenance of through coaching and therapy that helps you continue to be like, okay, this is just a thought I'm having, or this is just one circumstance. And then I felt like my cup was a little bit more full where I could give better as a parent.
And you mentioned some of the resources. So besides and I love how you described the therapy and the coaching as the maintenance. So you have
Mhm.
your maintenance, you have your medications. What are some of the other resources that you now use that get you to a place where you're like, okay, I'm killing this mom game?
I don't know if I'm killing it, but I'm glad you said that. I don't know that I'm killing it, but I'm much more forgiving of myself. That I think is the bigger thing. Like, I do think I'm a better parent. I don't yell as much. I don't have these like spiraling thoughts, and I don't take it out on my kids. So I do think I'm what a better parent from that regard. But the other things are the same. They still eat a lot of chicken nugget and mac and cheese and like sometimes hot dogs. And, sometimes I'm too tired to put them to bed. And so it's like 8:30 and like, okay, I should finally put them to bed. Or then it's 9 o'clock and I haven't put them to bed yet. I don't beat myself up over those things anymore. My daughter was fighting me. She wanted to wear pajamas to school. I'm like, then great. Enjoy your pajama day at school. And so I don't feel like, oh, I'm a bad parent because I sent her to school in pajamas. Like, I don't care
Yeah.
about that. Or I don't feel like washing dishes. So we're using paper plates today. And I'm not a bad mom for that. I don't care. They're going to have cheese and crackers because that's what they're insisting on having. And I don't have the fight in me today. That's protein, carbs, and fat. They're good. So I think it was a lot of forgiveness of myself. And that is something I learned through the coaching. Like the beating myself up was not actually helping at all. It was making it worse.
Oh my gosh. I love that. Yes, it is okay for them to not have a five-course meal because they're probably not going to eat it anyway. Like at that age, like my 1-year-old will eat anything. She'll eat anything, anywhere, off the floor, whatever. But then I'm sure in 2, 3 years, she will be just like my 4-year-old and not want to eat anything. You know what? You want bread and cheese every day? Fine.
Yes.
It's fine.
The grilled cheese. It's a piece of pizza. That's the same thing. Yeah.
Exactly. And I think that's really important. It's just that, especially as physicians, we're not used to just letting things go. Because if we let things go, people die. Like, this is a very real thing, right?
Yes.
We're used to
Yeah.
keeping it all together. And it's like, well, yes, my house should run the same. Like, everything should be
Yeah.
together and orderly. But no, no.
Yeah. We're using the same set of rules for very different situations. Like, no one's going to die if I don't pick up toys tonight before I go to bed.
Yep.
So I need a different set of rules here.
Yes. Yeah. You need a different set of rules. I just want to say that again. You
Yeah.
need a different set of rules for motherhood. So tell me, I know the doc that's listening is wondering, how are you doing it alone with 2 children? How is that happening?
Day by day. It's different, obviously, than having to parent in that I need to have more help. I need to have pay to have help. Which sometimes works out better because like they're kind of an employee family member. Yeah. So and this is a whole other conversation. I currently have an au pair. My kids also go to pre-K at a place that has daycare hours, so 6:30 to 6:30. Yes. I mean, I don't use all those hours, but just knowing that they're there is like a mental load off.
Yeah.
I'm also very fortunate that my parents live in town, so my mom can often keep the girls. And then I just have like a roster of people. I'm lucky that a couple of my neighbors can always like run over if I need to go do something. I mean, I have the au pair now, but before I'd be like, can you just come please sit with the girls while I go do this or whatever. But it's just like keeping that roster full.
Yeah.
Right. So that's how you do it. And recently with the practice and everything where I have hours that are a little, I mean, they're never predictable as a physician
Right.
generally, but I finally stopped kind of piecemealing the childcare together. Found an au pair after having kind of a bad experience a year ago, found an au pair that works really well for our family. And I like, she's great. She's essentially like a family member now.
Yeah.
And she loves the girl. They love her. And it's just so much easier. If I have to leave at 6 in the morning, I can get up and leave at 6 in the morning. If I have a late morning where I can leave at 9 in the morning, then I can leave at 9 in the morning. I'm not having to call and just, really like figure out how to piece the childcare together. It just is there.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I definitely want to talk more about the au pair because that's my thing. But
Yes.
before we get there, I want to point out something really important that you said is that you kept the roster full because it's not just because you're a single mom. We all need help. Just want to make
Yes.
sure everybody knows that we
Yes.
all need help. We all should strive to have a roster of people that can come and help us in any way, shape, or form. For that type of roster, it's your community.
Yes.
Those are not paid positions.
Yes.
And you kept saying that you were lucky, but that was intentionality because let me tell you, I'm not friendly. Right? I'm friendly in a lot of ways, but like I have no idea who my neighbors are. But I know that's bad. Like I know I need to know them because what if something happens, right? And I feel
Yeah.
like a lot of people, if you're an introvert, because I'm like an extroverted introvert, which I know is opposite to you, but I really like talking to people. But that doesn't
Yeah.
work in motherhood. You need these people.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
I want to point that out. You were not lucky. Like that takes effort to know your neighbors, to get to know them, to trust them, to ask them, to feel comfortable asking them. All of
Oh
those
yeah.
things are commendable. So I just wanted to point that out.
And people like to help. People
Yes.
really do like to help. Like, if you have kind of an army of people. So one time I had to leave pretty quickly. And so I called my neighbor across the street and she was like, she can be there until 2. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to find somebody from like 2 until. So I like piecemealed this whole day last minute. And they were happy to come. They're like, I can come from like 4 to 7. Will that work? I'm like, yeah, you're hired. And they just came and stayed with the girls. So
Yeah.
like people love to help. And that's hard for us who we have a very hard time asking for help. It's hard to like wrap your mind around it because you just feel like you're a burden, but people
Yeah.
actually like to help and people will say no too. And it's not like you can't take offense to it.
Yeah.
But people generally do enjoy helping.
Yeah. And that was also another very important point. It's okay to ask for help. You do not have to do everything on your own. It is not a failure on your part if you cannot handle everything by yourself. You're not supposed to. So I won't
Yeah.
jump back on that soapbox. I'll leave that alone. But I want to hear about your au pair experience. Tell us about the bad experience first and how you came to
Okay.
get another au pair in your house.
Yeah. There was a lot of learning with the first go round. So I decided that, I didn't want to piecemeal the childcare together. So I was going to this was in June of 2020, I don't know, last year.
3.
She was in rematch, which means that she was already with another family and they had decided they were going to part ways. She was already in the state. So I talked to her on the phone and then we met at a park and she was very sweet and very just like very quiet. And I was like, oh, she seems really sweet. So I was like, looked at her profile. She said she could drive. So I'm like, great, you're hired. You, warm body, you're hired. Like I said, there was a lot of learning that was done. So she came, she continued to be like very shy and not interact with me or my kids. It was very obvious after only a couple of days, she had no desire to be around kids. Like I got her a phone and she was like this, like the whole time on her phone. I had her driving with my mom to take the girls to school. So my mom would drive them to school and she would drive my mom back to my house and then my mom would go back to her. It was like lovely to have them both there, but I wasn't
Yeah.
ready to let her drive the kids yet. And then I started doing some driving with her. She's like literally running into curbs, running stop signs. And I'm like, do you know how to drive? Like I even got her driving. Yeah, it was bad. So that was one thing. And then there were like some lying incidents that were very bothersome to me, or just, I don't know if I don't know if she was lying, but I know that I felt very uneasy about what I was hearing and what the situation was playing out to be. And then one time I almost never look in on my cameras in the house. But one day I'd left before the kids had woken up and I kind of missed them. So I was like, oh, they haven't gone to school yet. Let me look and see what they're doing. This chick's like on the couch on her phone. It's before school. So like, can you like entertain them for like 30 minutes before my mom
Yeah.
comes? So no. So the TV was on. She was on her phone and, there were toys kind of sprinkled around the carpet. And she finally realizes that my mom was almost there. And so I see her like very hurriedly turn off her phone, turn off the TV, and then look at my daughter and was like, you need to pick up your toys. And Amelia was like, no, she was 4 at the time. She's like, no, I want to play. I want to play. The way she does with me. And the way she talked to my daughter, when I tell you, I like that sinking feeling, like when you just want to vomit. And I was like, oh no, this is not happening.
Yeah.
And then I had a conversation with her about it. And this was also around the time where I was talking to my daughters especially my older one, in a way that was like, I was not happy with. And it happened probably a couple of times in front of her. And so I was like, I'm giving her the benefit of the doubt, even though I want to strangle her. Even if I talk to my kids that way, you're not allowed to talk to my kids that way. And I think you and I had this conversation. And so she was like, okay. And I don't know if she got it or not. And then there was like another lying incident where she blamed my daughter for something that she had done. And so then I was like, we're going to go in. So that was like my horrible experience. She ended up going back to her home country. So apparently the family before me did not recommend her for rematch, but the agency that used put her up for rematch anyway. And there was like a whole like dossier or docket or whatever that, and they were like, give me, the new family's numbers, or like give them my number so they can call me if they have any questions. The agency did not give me the phone number. I didn't know that I had access to any of this information about why they were in rematch. And so I just thought like it was all this big secret. And then it turns out that they didn't recommend them. I ended up with her. And then I didn't recommend her. And then I see her back on like these Facebook groups and back on the website that she was back in rematch. And so I called them and I said, what is it about not like recommending her that you're not getting? And so it wasn't until I was like super persistent about this that they actually took her off and sent her out. So I was like, that's never happening again. I will never have. And part of the traumatizing thing was that when she was in rematch, she was still staying in my house. You have to still house them for two weeks and pay for their food and all this stuff, even though they're not working for you. And so I'm like, that part wasn't as bad for me. Like I'm not going to let her starve, but at the same time, like, I don't want you in my house. Like I want to be able to go home and feel comfortable, and I don't feel comfortable. Yeah. And so I essentially said that she was a danger to my older child. So I wanted her out of the house. But they took her out of the house and then they eventually sent her home. So then roughly probably like 9 months later, I finally was like, I got it. I guess I got to try this.
9 months later.
Yeah. It took me like a full, pregnancy. Not really. It took a full 9 months to be like, I'm going to try this again. But what I had learned I learned how to vet a little bit better. I learned to pick an agency that also vets a little bit better. I learned to learn how that agency vets them through other people who are using that agency. I essentially took the time. I talked to her on FaceTime several times. I talked to you several times. What questions should I be asking? I talked to the LCC here. What questions should I be asking? So everybody was giving me these great questions. Have her send a video of herself driving, and a video of like the road and all of that. I was like, I want evidence that there are kids in the car, but don't show me video of a kid in the car. So she had them all singing in the back while she was driving. And so I wanted to know that you actually had, experience. And it was probably after like the 4th video chat, she was finally like, is this going to be our last one? Like, do you like me or what? And so So yeah. So, and then she told me she had actually gotten another offer or two offers. And so I was like, okay, well, so they're also betting. Like I was also putting trust in these strangers. Like, okay, they also did maybe something and they also like her. So I'm like, so yeah. So that's how we kind of ended up matching. The other thing that I really liked about her is she was very excited about teaching us about her culture. And my previous au pair, like I would ask her questions about her culture and her country and things that they do and foods that they eat. And I was getting thing. And I'm like, you're no better than just like somebody from here whose culture I already
Right.
know, I'm not learning anything. And so I was really excited to learn about, Zulu culture in South Africa. And she every day teaches us something new. We talk about it all the time. So, and, the difference with her is she came off a very long plane flight, South Africa, showed up in Houston. And the first thing we had to do is actually go straight to swim lesson. And the first thing she did was, the girls had talked to her several times and the girls like ran up to her. She was holding my younger one. She was like immediately interacting with them. I'm like, okay, this is different. This is very different. So yeah, it was a learning lesson for me. Like I could have done without a little bit of the trauma, but there were definitely lessons
Yeah.
learned.
And I'm so, so happy that 9 months, man. Because I feel like we met at the beginning of the first au pair. So I've been along for the ride. Yes.
Yeah, I think you've suggested it to me like within that 9 months several times. Like, are you ready? And I'm like, no, never.
Yes. I was like, Rita, you need help. You need help. You need help.
I only got help. Yeah.
Yes, finally got help. And I love that. And I love that for so many reasons because I was just like you. I hadn't had the personal experience, but I had very close friends who had had very, very bad experiences. And I was like, no way. There is no
Yeah.
way in hell I am joining this program. Like, why would I
Yeah.
want to do that?
In
So
my
you
house.
had exactly, you had the experience in your house. So I feel like it was very commendable for you to even get to this place where
Yeah.
you decided to dive back in.
Good.
So then I just want to ask you to speak a little bit to why you didn't try to find a different type of childcare, or did you try to find a different type of
I
childcare?
think I did. I think I kept trying other ways. So I needed a split schedule because my girls were in this pre-K and I very much wanted them in the pre-K because it's a Spanish immersion pre-K. And that was a very important thing for me, for them to have that experience. And so I needed a split schedule. And it's very, very hard to find somebody who's willing to do essentially part-time and a split schedule because I didn't need them for a lot of hours, but I needed them for unsavory hours. And like nobody who can afford to do part-time wants also unsavory hours. So I had like somebody at one point, I had somebody that was just doing morning. So they would come like, 6:30 to 9:30 whenever they got dropped off at daycare. And then I would have somebody in the evenings that would like go get them at school and stay until I got home. And that sometimes was variable. And, she also worked. And so she was like, I can't get him today. So I'd have to like call my mom and be like, can you get him on this day? And it was always like it always worked out. There was always somebody that could get them. But it was always like
Yeah.
so much coordinating. And with this, I know who's picking them up, who's not. And, we had the hurricane a couple weeks ago. And obviously the school was closed for a few days afterwards. And people are scrambling. Like, what are we doing for childcare? Like, what are you guys going to do? Like, I'm going crazy. And I was just like, it works out. It just, the things that would normally stress me out
Yeah.
a lot about finding child. Like today and tomorrow, the kids' school is closed for like the teacher, whatever.
Whatever. Appreciation.
And, she was there. She watched some TV with them, played with them. They went and painted some pottery and,
Yeah.
and same thing will happen tomorrow. She'll take them to the park, so whatever. And so I
Yeah.
don't have to worry about when there are school closures. And
Yeah.
that weight off of my mind and off my plate is just,
Yeah.
it's worth having somebody. And then living in your house, if things are
Wait,
going
hold on.
well,
I want you to say that sentence properly so everybody can hear. It's
well,
worth having somebody in your house.
yes, it's worth having somebody in your house. Asterisk,
Yes.
if things aren't going well between
Right.
you. Because right now, like I think of a time when it was just me and the girls, and I'm like, well, that was so weird that we didn't have somebody else in the house. Like now it's like, oh, remember when it was just us? Because when you get used to having
Yeah.
somebody else for that, and she's only been with us people May, June, July, 3 months.
Yeah.
So it's
So
not,
wild to hear you say that.
yeah,
It is so wild to hear you say it.
I know. And, once they get accustomed to being around and they can get like a little bit of a friend group or find things that they want to do, then it's not a big deal,
Yeah,
honestly,
it's
having
not
them
a
in your
big
house.
deal.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the like you said, the mental load that comes off of having to scramble and wonder who and like the flexibility is one of my favorite parts of the program. And we have changed our schedule probably like 3 times at this point. And it's just like it's not a big deal.
Doesn't matter.
She,
Yeah.
yeah, it does not matter. You cannot get that anywhere else. And
Yeah.
I just want to go back to all of the vetting that you did because when I look back on the stories that I heard on the situations, even that I had, because we had a rematch,
Yes.
most of the time there was more vetting that could have been. Most of the times we have a little bit of responsibility because we didn't vet
Yeah.
that girl either.
Yeah.
We didn't like we were just like, oh great, you seem nice. And she wore glasses and couldn't see at night driving. Like she literally couldn't see. And we had no idea until she was here in the States veering into the other lane. Like, that's when we found out. So, I say all that to say, yes, I don't think Claire never told you that before, but
Yeah.
there's often more work we can do to prevent a lot of the situations that happen that
Yeah.
where you hear these horror stories.
Yeah.
So, yeah,
Be honest though, like this is not on the list of questions. Like, make sure you ask them, can you see at night? Like, do you have any driving
yeah,
restrictions? Like, yeah, there's like
right,
a
right,
whole vast amount of questions you didn't know you probably need to ask
right.
until something like this happened.
Yeah, and like because we just started interviewing for the next au pair, I kept asking all these driving related questions, and the girls were like, "Why are you asking?" It's like, "There's a reason that I am asking you all of these questions. Bear with me." And they're like, "Yeah, no, no, I can see, I can drive." It's like, okay, like if you cannot drive, we will rematch immediately. So that you were the inspiration for a program that I, by the time this comes out, will already have rolled out for my
Yeah.
Au Pair Navigator program.
Yeah.
Because during that 9 months of the back and forth, like trying to convince you to get an au pair, and then when you finally did, like going through all the questions and all that stuff, it's like doing the nanny workshops that I do is fine because it's a fairly simple process. It's just like hiring anyone,
Yeah.
but an au pair is like it's a special thing, and that takes, like, a lot of detail, and it really doesn't work well in a workshop. Like, I tried to do that before with a group, and
Yeah.
it just didn't work. Like, you need that one-on-one. You need to be able
Yes.
to ask somebody a question real quick. So, like, I created this thing where I would get to know the doc who was looking, find out exactly what they want, and then they could just, like, message me for, like, 2 months
Yeah.
while they go
Yeah.
through the process, and that was all inspired by you.
So yeah, we've all learned lessons. I mean, and it's so
Yeah.
true. I can see now in hindsight with you saying that why maybe a group thing like a group thing could work for like the
Yeah.
general idea of what an au pair can do for you, but like everybody's needs are so different. And that's why somebody in rematch may work out for another family.
Yeah.
So like maybe it's because they have older kids. Maybe it's because they don't need a driver. Maybe it's because they
Yeah.
need help. Like I don't need an au pair to help you with homework, so
Yeah.
it's so specific to even just down to your living situation. Like if you're living in close quarters, you need them to make their bed and not have clothes
Yeah.
everywhere. Fine. But maybe if you have a massive house with a wing, like you don't care if their room is messy.
Oh, yeah. So I am so glad to hear how well she is still doing and how you are so supported now. I think that was always my biggest thing. It's just like you need the support, right?
Yes.
The piecemeal childcare and all of those things, even the roster, though it's important, just having that person there is really fundamental. And we learned that lesson when my mother-in-law was here and she was
Mhm.
about to leave. That's when we joined the program. We were like, okay,
Yeah.
this in-home childcare is it.
Yeah.
This is what we
Yes.
need to do.
Yes.
But yeah, just so y'all know, I don't work for any au pair companies, BT dubs.
Yeah.
I don't.
That's right. And that's also why I didn't name any agencies
Right.
out when I was speaking. But yeah, and sometimes you're limited to what's in your area anyway. So
Like me.
you
Yes.
can still have a good experience with different agents. I just learned a lot about vetting. And I think something that I want to repeat that you said that I found out a lot about why things are better as a parent and needing to be supported. Like, I feel like that cannot be overstated is like, as physicians, moms, you said it. Like, you always think that you just need to do everything, but like you just can't do everything. And to be supported, whether it's having somebody come do laundry once a week, whether it's like, I just need my bathroom cleaned once a week, any kind of support. I need meals delivered once a month. I don't want to have to deal with, or whatever, once a week, whatever it is, you're just so much better at being able to parent when those other things that you don't need to be doing, provided you have the means to do it, like somebody else can be doing that for you. And you're just better at all the other things because somebody else is doing it for you.
Yes. Yes. Thank you for saying that. And
Yeah.
I want to acknowledge the not having the means part, because whenever we talk about childcare, it's like, okay, not everybody could afford childcare, but a lot more people can afford childcare than you would think, especially in au pair because it's cheap.
Yeah.
But it's this idea that there's a couple different things, right? You think that you're supposed to do everything. So it's like, well, I'm not going to spend that money. I'm in a low paying specialty. I'm in whatever else. So I can't spend the money. But what is your hourly rate? That's what you're wasting
Yeah.
when you are
Yeah.
doing all these things, right? So if you're, say, a pediatrician making $100 an hour, that laundry is costing you $100. But
Yeah.
it could cost somebody else a whole lot less. So it's
Yeah.
just like, just really thinking about the value of your time, of your energy, of your
Yep.
sanity. A lot more people can afford childcare than they
Yeah.
think if you think about it that way.
Yeah. For sure. Like, there is actually, I'll be as bold to say, there is a monetary value on your mental health and your peace. If you have a little bit less money at the end of the month, but you have meals that are already prepared for you or laundry that is done for you, I don't think you're going to miss that money. You're not missing that money. You're going to be like, okay, we ate out you like fewer times, or like, Johnny's not doing soccer this season because mommy needs laundry done. Like, it's almost like a mindset thing to reprioritize where your money's going, and you have to prioritize your mental health up there. And so that's where the money's going, for your mental health and your peace.
Okay, I just wanted to stay quiet so I could get a nice clean recording there. I hope you heard her loud and clear. There's nothing else I have to say. The interview is over. That's it. But I do want to say one more thing. So I know we talked about you, but I also want people to know what else you do, because you are amazing, single mom by choice,
Yeah.
amazing Houston doctor. Talk a little bit about your practice and how you do all of this, creating a practice as well, and growing
Great.
it and being a badass surgeon
Well,
outside of all of these medical centers in Houston, Texas.
yeah. So I own my practice. It's solo right now. Hopefully, it won't be solo a year, maybe, hopefully. General colorectal surgery in the Heights area of Houston. And, I was in institutional academic employed medicine, essentially my whole life career until this past year. I just celebrated 1 year at the beginning of July. And yeah, just learning lots of lessons as we go and building. And this year is obviously already much different than last year. The way you do it is in health. Like, you just gotta, the same way we learn to build a team, you gotta build your like house, your home team, your personal team, you gotta build your professional team. And that's the only way you can do the things that only you can do, is to have a team that can do the things that can be delegated. So I'm still learning that lesson. I'm still very much a work in progress. That's what I do. And that my goal is to have a team that I never have to do the things that I don't need to be doing. The ultimate goal.
I
Yes.
love it.
Yes.
All right, tell our listeners where they can find you if they need a colorectal surgeon. Hopefully they don't.
Yeah, sure. I mean, if you're 45 or over, you need a colonoscopy. It doesn't have to be me or a colorectal surgeon. It can be a gastroenterologist. But yes, if you need to find me, if you're in the Houston area or in Texas, it can be seen on TikTok and Instagram at Ritha Belizaire MD. Also same as YouTube. My business is called Houston Community Surgical, which can be Googled, and you can contact me on a variety of ways on that website.
Okay, great. And all of that will be in the show notes. All right, Dr. Rita, what would be your last parting thought for the docs that are listening, the physician moms? What do you
Yes.
wish somebody told you that you now know about being a mom of little?
Yeah, I think it's sort of going back to one of the questions you asked is how it's different than how I was raised is get help. We're used to our moms doing everything and think that it's different now. So you get help, even though your mom did it all herself, and there's some trauma in that too. She probably needed a lot of help too. That's not the way it's done. And there's no glory in suffering. There's no glory in suffering. So get the help. Don't suffer. Allow yourself to be, at peace so you can feel like you're a good mom and a good doctor and a good spouse and a good friend and all of those things.
Another clean recording there. I just want to make sure y'all heard it all the gold from our guest here. Thank you so much, Rita. It has been a pleasure. I'm very happy that we were able to do this.
Likewise. Thank you.
I will see you on the next episode of Stethoscopes and Strollers. Don't forget to leave a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts, a 5-star rating everywhere else. Share with another physician mom who needs to hear all of the gold that Dr. Rita dropped, so another physician mom could feel a little more seen and a lot less alone. I will see you later.